kept asking me, he's like, hey, you want to come to fight class? And I was like, no. I was like, what is fight class? Is like karate? He's like, no, we just go to this dude's house in his basement. He teaches us how to fight. I was like, so what, you're learning karate in some dude's basement? He's like, no, it's not. It's not karate.
I don't know. It's not every day that someone goes from being in the Navy to owning their own business in a more than successful capacity. So, I
Right.
mean, when before you even join the Navy, you come from New Jersey, yeah?
Yep. Yeah. New Jersey.
And dude, you've always been into hardcore music, and one of the only straight edge people that I know. Like, what was the thing that really got you into that?
Oh, hardcore. Basically, one day we were skateboarding, when I was like 89. And I had a creator tape, and I told the dude, I was like, put this on. And then he was like, nah, listen to this. And it was a band called Sick of It All. That got me into hardcore. And then after that day, I had no idea what hardcore was still. I just kind of thought it was metal. And then when I went to high school, I went to a homeroom and made friends with somebody who was straight edge and into hardcore. And basically that's just where it all began.
That's cool, man. You just found your niche there because, I mean, so many of us, go through different genres and different, scenes and stuff that they're into to find something that immediately spoke to you like that. It was pretty rad.
Yeah, it was like there's a lot of like alcoholism in my family, and I seen a lot of stuff growing up that that I didn't like and I didn't want to be like. And I knew if I had started drinking or if I started doing anything, it was going to be an issue for me. So I just decided to never start.
I mean, as a pretty smart way to go about that, realizing that, I mean, nothing like preemptive, I suppose, damage control.
Yeah.
Know thyself, right?
Yeah. And, it's like I don't have a problem with any of that. It's just for me, it's like if I were to drink or do anything, like I'd obsess about it all day until I got to do it.
Oh, yeah. The actual physical craving is a thing when it comes to honest to god alcoholism.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that whispers to you until you finally go to it. I mean, I've
Yeah. And I already have enough issues with like junk food. You know what I mean? It's like I couldn't imagine if like it like messed me up too or like altered my way of thinking. I'd be a mess.
So, like, when you got into martial arts, what age were you?
Um, man, I did karate when I was a kid. I don't know how old I was, but my parents got me into karate, and I wasn't really that into it because at the time I just wanted to go outside and skateboard, and then yeah, it didn't the katas and stuff like a lot of it didn't really make sense to me as far as like a fighting art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And later on in life, I was dating a girl. I was probably about 19, maybe 20, and her brother's friend kept asking me, he's like, "Hey, you want to come to fight class?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "What is fight class? Is like karate?" He's like, "No, we just go to this dude's house in his basement. He teaches us how to fight." I was like, "So what? You're learning karate in some dude's basement?" He's like, "No, it's not. It's not karate." I'm like, well, "What is it?" He's like, "I don't know." He goes, "It's just fun." I was like, "Nah, I'm good." But he kept asking me. He's like, "Come on, keep." I was just like, "You know what? I'm gonna come. Let me check it out." And then now you can't ask me anymore. Because I tried it and it's still not what I want to do. So I go with him and we go in this dude's basement, and I see the guy is teaching a class, and I'm like, "This dude is gonna teach me how to fight." I was like, "Nah." He's like half my size. Well, halfway through the class, I'm holding pads, and this dude kicks the pads, and it lifts me off my feet. And I fall to the ground, and that was it. I was sold. I was like, I have to learn this. And it was an art called Muay Thai. I had no idea what that was. Nobody did. You know, in the '90s, there was nowhere in New Jersey that had a school. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was very
Mm-hmm.
relatively unknown. But I got lucky and found this dude and got into Muay Thai. Did that for years, and then been on and off with it since then. But that was about '97.
Yeah, I grew up, doing martial arts as well, and I felt the exact same as you when it came to karate and the katas. It was like I understand the discipline of it. It's like self-defense homework, basically, so that you can pass a test when when you go to get
Yeah,
your belt.
right.
That's
Yep.
genuinely what it is you're studying for an exam.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you with learning Muay Thai. It was just so much more of a more efficient way to bring other parts, I suppose, into contact, like your elbows and your knees and shins.
Oh yeah. And it's like it's such a like to the point art, It's
Yeah,
like
safe to say.
like like when I tried it out, I was just like not only did I have to like learn how to do it, I wanted to know everything about it. So like from then I was just like researching. I was like, back then internet was around, but it was just like barely. So I was like kind of trying to figure out like, well, what is Muay Thai? Where'd it come from? And it was like born out of war with the Burmese. And I was just like, wow, if this art is born for war, it's got to be good. And then, it's just, the first thing he tells us is like, hey, if you get in a fight, you're going to get punched. And I was just like, that is not what they told me in karate. They were like, this is how you block every punch. But he's just like, just be prepared to get hit. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you're going to learn how to hit too. So,
You learn how to strengthen up your shins, strengthen up your
yep.
forearms. Remember, your knees aren't there for decoration, kids.
That's right.
So, like, what age did you start that?
I was probably about 19,
Yeah.
19, 20, something like that. And whatever I was in '97, I'm not good at math. So,
Yeah, I get it.
which is, for like Muay Thai is like late to the game. Like the ties start at like
Yeah, yeah.
4.
Yeah, it's like the manouche guitar players. They started when they're like 6.
Yeah.
Like here, learn these Django tunes at like 7 years old. It's like, oh, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
can
And
barely hold a guitar.
yeah. And then that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like in Thailand, they don't like, they're not chefs and Thai fighters. They start when they're young and they fight. And that's how they get money to their family. It's just practice. That's it.
Yeah, it's make sure you can beat the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious about that because, I know you joined the Navy because, we served at the same time.
Yep. Yeah.
But what age did you do that, man?
Did I join the Navy?
Yeah.
I think I was 25,
Yeah.
25, 26. Yeah. Yep.
So you'd been doing Muay Thai probably about 6 years going in.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say probably about 4 or 5 of those years continuously.
Yeah.
And then I moved away, which wasn't super far. So I was there like, whenever I could get there to train, but it wasn't a lot. And then, I met my wife and, I spent a lot of time with her at that time because, it was a new relationship. So it was all, super exciting.
Yeah, Ginger's just an
Just,
amazing person anyway.
yeah, she is.
Shout out to Ginger and the kids. Your family is amazing too.
Thank you. Yeah.
You've
They're
done a
pretty rad.
pretty great job as a dad, just got to say.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, when you were in the Navy, man, like were you still training? Like were there people that you were still training with?
Not really. A little bit, kind of, I guess, but it was like the job I had in the Navy. Like we didn't really have the hours to kind of be able to do that. So it was like I was in engineering, so I'd be there at like 7 in the morning, probably wouldn't get home till like 6 at night. And it was long days, long hours, and
What kind
we
of
were
stuff
gone
did you have
a
to
lot.
do?
Um, I was at HT, so I was like plumbing, welding, and then I was also in the DC division. So it was like we did a lot of fire control, firefighting stuff, and we just nothing really. Like most of the time, we're sitting around waiting for our LPOs to let us go home.
You're just waiting for something to break. I know with HT, you had to take care of
Yeah,
plumbing and whatnot, so you're absolutely no stranger when it came to dirty work.
yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah, but like I even remember one day we're just sitting in our sitting around waiting to be let go, and the duty LPO comes in. He's like, "What are you guys still doing here? Like waiting for you guys to let us go?" And he's like, "Oh, go home." He's just holding McDonald's. He left and went and got stuff. Just forgot to tell us to go home.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, like so it's hard to get out, and actually like really have any plans or to have like a consistent training schedule.
Yeah, I get that.
Plus,
By the time you get done with work, you're just tired.
yeah, yep. And at the time, I was really into like I was very loyal to my coach. So I was just like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna do this when I get back. So I was like, I'm not gonna train anywhere else. I'm just gonna wait till I get home and get out of the Navy and go back to where I started, and ended up, a couple years later, just calling him and talking to him and getting his blessings to, train at a different gym down here. And obviously he's like, yeah, he's like, I wish you had been training, you know?
So, like, you own your own barbershop, and it's amazing. It's literally one of the best examples of the American dream coming true. And in order to get to there, you had to go and you had to do some pretty dirty work, didn't you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
A
And
little bit.
any stories from any of those crazy jobs
Oh, like from the Navy or from after?
from afterward?
After. Yeah, I was an exterminator for a while, for about 4 years, which, you know, had its ups and downs. But I remember crawling underneath houses and just getting kind of stuck sometimes and panicking and trying to get out of the house from underneath the house because it's so tight.
Right.
There was a couple times where I'd be under a house and I'd find what looks like a bed set up. So like people were sleeping underneath people's houses here, like a sleeping bag with pillows and like just a little setup. I'm like, oh, and I would be like, hey, do you know somebody is sleeping under your house? And they're like, oh, that's just Tom. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm like, do you know Tom? I was like, I don't know. It was strange. And there was one time, sometimes, you go into like a building, like apartment building. And if one house has, or one apartment has roaches, they all have them.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of the
So
rules.
yeah, so unless you treat the whole building, it's you're just gonna push them into another like apartment, and then they're coming back in a few weeks.
Right, right.
I was walking around, and there were so many like roaches. I was walking around this this dude's house, and like I feel him touch my back. I turn around. I was like, "What's up?" He goes, "Oh, the roaches are falling off the ceiling and they're landing on you." I was wiping them off. I'm like, "Oh, cool. Please
Jesus.
continue to do that." Yeah. So that was uh that was interesting.
Jay-Z. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the things whenever I've described you to people that I always throw in there is that you did time as an exterminator. And that is just some of the most like my hat is so off to you when it comes to being able to do that kind of work and not just set everything on fire that you see.
Yeah, and it's like you know what I look like, so it's like they would put me in the really bad areas
Yeah, because
of Norfolk.
you don't look, you look like you can handle yourself.
Yeah, so they'd be like, "All right, well, this is your area." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So it's like every bad area in Norfolk, that just became my spot, and then everybody else got like the nice neighborhoods, and which I was cool with. I didn't mind. Nobody ever messed with me, and everybody was actually really cool with me. I've actually been asked a couple times if I was Batista, the wrestler. So I was like, one dude goes, "Are you Batista?" I was like, "Who's Batista?" And I was like, I had no idea, because I hadn't really watched wrestling since I was young.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, he's a professional wrestler." I was like, "No." I was like, "Do you think he does exterminating on the side?" Like, he's 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 in the WWE and he also is an exterminator. Because then I like Googled who he was and I was just like, "Oh, there's no way this dude is." He's like in movies and yeah. So
yeah, that like, I suppose that's when you realize that some people, just they speak before they think, and like, man, that one dude who's just making all that money in WWE and how doing movies and television, what he wants to do is kill bugs.
yeah, I also was mistaken once, and I've heard a lot of times that I look like Bill Murray.
Yeah, a little. You're like a buff Bill Murray.
So if I was walking through the mall, this dude jumps out of his seat and he's like, "Bill Murray." And I looked over, I'm like, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not him, but cool.
Yeah. It's funny because, I mean, I look like Dan Aykroyd. We could do like a tattooed remake of Ghostbusters.
Let's do it, dude.
let's completely do it. We'll get my friend Spooky, who looks like Egon.
Oh, hell yeah. Get the whole team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he even has like the extremely tall 80s pompadour.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like Spooky's hair enters the room before he does.
Yeah.
So, like, I know that obviously now you own your own barbershop, and I've been there, and it's amazing. And when you were, you were doing your job as an exterminator, were you studying at the same time, or were you just one day like, nope, fuck this, fuck everything, and went and did that? What led down that path?
Basically that, like I had, we had talked about barbering, for years, and it's been something I wanted to do for a long time, but I just never really thought much about actually going to school for it. And the more, coming out of the Navy, I was like, I have this GI Bill.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, should I do something with it, or should I just, whatever, keep going with this exterminating? And one day I was underneath the house and I was like, dude, I hate this. I got out from under the house and I was like, that's it. I'm going to school. So I went, the next morning I go into the office. I was like, hey, well, actually me and Ginger, we went and looked at a couple schools, found the one I wanted to go to, then went to, into the office in the morning. And I was like, hey, listen, I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to go to school. I was like, but these days I'd have to be off by 4 so I can get to school. And they were like, nah, you can't do that. I was like, all right, cool. Well, here's my 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
And that was it. I just
made the move.
Quit my job.
That was awesome.
I did. It was probably the worst timing because like Ginger had just quit her job, because, she was pregnant with Walter.
Right.
So she's at home. Neither of us are working. I cash in my 401k to have like a little bit of padding there. And then the GI Bill gives you the BAH. So it was like, I was getting $1,200 a month or whatever it was from the GI Bill. They were paying for the school. And I worked out something with the school. I was like, hey, you know, can I just do my hours at a shop? And he was just like, yeah. He's like, just come in here whenever you can, and you know, I'll sign you in for all your hours. So I did that, and you know, which actually ended up being better because you know, get a lot of haircuts at the school. So being in a barbershop was cool because I actually got to learn how to cut hair.
Right, right. When I went to hair school, it was a whole lot of theory and culture classes and stuff because the only place that the VA would pay for was a cosmetology school when I was going. So
Yeah.
I learned all about that kind of thing, and I made some amazing friends too. And I might even have one or two of them on here. You never know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. But like in a barber school, it's not like a lot of theory. It's just like, hey, here's your book. Make
Yeah.
sure you study.
Yeah.
And then you go in the back room to study, and everybody's playing Madden. So it's just like, all right, cool. We're
This
playing
is the
video
job
games.
for me.
Yeah, this book is boring. I want to play video games. So
And just make sure this haircut's done right.
yeah.
And
So yeah, and I remember the first time I cut somebody's hair. This guy comes in, he goes, hey, you're cutting hair. And I was like, is somebody going to tell me how to cut this dude's hair? Like, I've never cut a hair before, like not a fade, you know? I've just shaved heads and did mohawks. And he goes, oh yeah. And he points to the person next to me and goes, she'll help you out. She's really good at cutting hair. And then he walks away. And then I look at her and she goes, I don't know how to teach. And then she leaves. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, this is awesome. Now, this kid's sitting in my chair. He's, you know, a younger guy. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? He goes, well, just whatever you can to make it look all right. Because he had, like, his whole head was just calyx. And I was like, holy crap. I'm like, dude, every piece of hair is going in a different direction.
Oh, rough.
So it was probably a terrible haircut, but you wouldn't have known because of how messed up his hair was already.
Right.
So that was my first experience with a haircut.
I don't know how to teach.
Yeah, he was. I was like, all right, this rules.
Well, hell yeah.
But like that was the general attitude. It was just like, whatever at the school, you know?
Yeah.
I picked up water, what I thought was a spray bottle of water once. I was like, hey, is this water? And they were like, yeah. I started spraying it in this guy's hair, and it's bleach.
Holy shit.
Like, not bleach that you dye with, but bleach that you clean with.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh. And he was older, so his hair was already white anyway. So I was just like, I don't know if it would turn his hair white, but I just started spraying the hell of it with water and combing it through. I was just like, oh
Just
God,
like,
I hope he doesn't know I just sprayed bleach in his hair.
Like, how do you feel about his shampoo on the house?
And I didn't even do that. I just wet it down and combed it through, cut his hair, and he got out.
So before you ended up owning your own shop, you were working at
Toppers in Virginia Beach.
And would you say that, you know, that was really the I'd say the icing on the cake for really making sure that you got your technique down to where you were able to be like, yeah, you come to my place and you're going to walk out with some quality.
Yeah. So she was very, very, you know, she's an older barber. So she owns that place, and it's a very old school looking shop. It's a beautiful shop. And I was like, this is where I want to work, you know, because it was the kind of shop I wanted to be in. The only thing I didn't like is we had to wear like slacks and like these black vests, and I just felt like I was a manager at like a grocery store or something.
Like they were trying to look classy, like 1920s, but it ended up coming off as like stock clerk.
But you know, like if you look at like a shop like Hollywood's, it's like, yeah, you have to dress up, but like you can wear what you want as long as you look good, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I tried to talk to her. I was like, hey, well, what do you think about like, you know, as long as they're like slacks, whatever color, and then like a nice button up, whatever color, and a vest. She's like, no, it's got to be black. And I'm like, oh man, this
Ugh.
is gross. But I just wanted everybody to look the same. It was cool, but I just, I did about 4 years there, and like even today, like people are like, man, you're really fast at cutting hair. I was like, well, the person who taught me used to put like a timer next to me. So she'd give me like 20 minutes to do a haircut. And if the timer went off, she'd be like, you gotta hurry up and like yell at me. So I was like, all right, well, I need to figure out how to do a quality haircut in 20 minutes. And, it took a while, but I did it.
And with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
It's really funny because, whether it's the Navy or that kind of barbershop or being out on the road with, certain band leaders and stuff, it's really cool to see how not to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you hired somebody, would you put a timer beside their head?
No.
Exactly. But for some reason, when we meet, I suppose, employers with those sort of adverse conditions, it can make it so that it hones the skill that you're doing that much better, just because you don't want to you don't want to have to deal with it. I suppose it's success through negative reinforcement, but that really only goes so far.
Yeah. And I'm sure it doesn't make the client feel any better that like you're forcing the barber to be rushed.
Yeah. It's really hard to put all the bells and whistles in there in 20 minutes, especially for men. There's a lot of nooks and crannies that need to be shaved.
Yeah.
Eyebrows and
yeah. So, that was now like if we have like apprentices at our shop, we just let the client know like, hey, he's an apprentice, it's not going to be best haircut, and it might take a little longer than usual, but
yeah, like I get that.
but you pay less for that.
I got that sort of vibe when I came into your shop. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I honestly just wanted to find a band and set up in the corner and start playing, because it just like was that kind of vibe where it's like I walked in and I was expected to be like, yeah, you guys just go ahead and set up over there, like
yeah.
like you were watching like 80s horror movies on a big television, and I think like in the Cramps or something was playing over the speakers, and I was like, okay, well, I suppose for the little bit of time that I get to be in Virginia Beach, at least I get to be here. last time I was in town before I moved permanently to Germany.
Yeah.
So like when COVID hit, and then barber, I don't know, the industry pretty much slowed down. What was you doing? Did you pick up any new hobbies?
No new hobbies. We had a, what do you call it, like a mobile shop. So it was like a trailer. It's set up like a barber shop with two chairs.
Rad.
Twice a week, I'd go out to that because you're allowed to cut hair on private property. So I don't know what the difference is, but twice a week we go out there, cut hair, filter in all our other, barbers and stuff, whoever wanted to cut. We were shut down for 2 months, and which I gotta admit, it was pretty awesome because I got to spend so much time with my kids. And Ginger was still working because she was an essential employee. So we'd always, every day we'd go have lunch with her and just hang out with the kids. And then, during that time, we had some t-shirts made. We sold the t-shirts to kind of, give our employees a little bit of money while they were waiting to come back to work too. But no, I can't say that I had any new new hobbies.
Well, yeah,
I know I thought I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to eat real healthy. I'd say about 3 days in, I'm eating cookies for lunch, watching movies all day. We go for like a lot of walks and stuff, but like, yeah, my eating habits went way south for that time period.
I mean, I think everybody's did. It was like, but I mean, I think that everybody got a chance to get a little better at everything that they were doing at home. Like, whether it was painting or playing music or working on cars or whatever. Everybody got a chance, I think, to hone skills a little bit. But I think like after a while, everybody was like, okay, I'm ready for like life to get back to normal.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it was pretty awesome though. I mean, it sucked financially, but it was cool to be home all the time and hang out with the kids.
Yeah, when you decided to really pull the trigger and be like, that's it, I'm opening my own joint. Like, oh man, I'm sure that had
That was tough because it was like starting over, you know.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, whew.
And honestly, like if it wasn't for my buddy John, who I opened the shop up with, I don't know if I would have done it. I'd probably still be at Toppers because he hit me up. He was like, "Hey, me and Jay found a spot. Do you wanna come into the shop with us?" And I was like, "I do, man, but I'm kind of nervous. Like I got a good thing going on, at Toppers." And I was like, you know what? I was like, if I don't try, it's never gonna happen. If I don't go now, will I ever do it? So met up with them, talked about some stuff. Jay was pretty much a silent partner because he had other shops, and then it was me and John running the shop. And in the beginning it was rough. What's that? Oh, we in the beginning it was slow and rough, and then a couple years later we ended up buying Jay out. So it's just me and John in the shop now that own it.
Getting to run it exactly the way you want, getting to decorate it exactly the way you want, getting to dress
Yeah.
exactly the way you want. And
Yeah. And all that was just me and John anyway, because Jay was like, he was like off in his other shop. He's a silent partner. We were just basically paying him like monthly, because he put in money for it. But
yeah.
yeah,
It's just, I mean, it's awesome, I mean, your story goes from being in Jersey to being in the Navy to being an exterminator to being what I consider one of the best examples of the American dream. And for that reason, you're one of my favorite people.
I appreciate that. And those are all things I never thought I'd be.
I know, and it's funny how life happens, but yeah, your story is a beautiful thing, man. If you want to put any plugs or websites or addresses out there, now's the time.
Oh yeah. You can follow us at Lionshead Barbershop at Gmail, lionsheadbarbershop.com for our website. And that's about it.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and I can't wait to have you on again and tell the kids and Ginger that I said hello. And yeah, man, nothing but happy
Awesome.
trails and the most success possible.
You too, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, dude. I love you.
I love you too, bud.
You take care of yourself.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. That'll be all for today. Remember, peace, love throughout the world, and don't forget to rock and roll.